You need to be accountable. Amen? A real man takes responsibility for his actions and failures. That's why he's willing to be honest about it. Okay? He doesn't seek to blame others or offer excuses to justify his failures. This is what separates a man from a boy. A boy will always try to find justification for doing what is wrong. Sapagkat ako'y tao lamang. Wala tayong magagawa. Lalaki ako. Men are by nature polygamous. What a big lie and excuse. Right? We love to offer excuses to justify our failures. That's why we never become real men. We remain boys. A boy will always try to justify his actions and will not take responsibility for his decisions. He will blame others for his decisions. Blame the wife. You know why I fell into adultery? Because you've been nagging me. You've been doing this because of you. I got tempted. The wife was blamed for his act of adultery. I have counseled men like that who were caught in the act of adultery. I will say to that man straight in the eye, it was not your wife's choice for you to adulterate. It was your choice. And the moment you make a choice in the eyes of God, you become responsible for your choice. Regardless of whether you were influenced or pressured to do it, you made a choice, and before God, you are responsible for your choice. You can say, oh, my wife started it. I just finished it. The Lord will hold your wife responsible for starting it, but will also hold you responsible for finishing it. You understand that? That's why Adam was not spared. It was the woman who started it. He just followed the woman. But when God came down, he was looking for the man. Did you eat of the tree? He was not talking to the woman. He was talking only to the man. Did you eat of the tree I told you not to eat from? Who told you you were naked? He was addressing the man, not the woman. Understand this? Because the man made a choice. And God holds him responsible. Okay? Third, Daniel had the right friends. You know, we often say, tell me who your barkada is, and I'll tell you what kind of person you are. As we often say, birds of a feather flock together. You know, at first, you may be able to resist the wrong influences of your peers or your group. But in the long run, if you don't try to avoid them, your moral defenses will begin to break down, and soon you'll find yourself giving in and later on following what they're doing. As a Christian, you may have your moral resistance at first, but if you keep exposing yourself to those kinds of people, their constant, panunukso, pagtutukso at panunukso sa'yo, will later on weaken your defenses because you're still exposing yourself. Until later on, you'll find yourself doing it. Let me ask you a question. How many of you had an experience like that, wherein at first you were resistant, but ultimately, bumigay ka rin? Pakitaas ang kamay. Okay, thank you for the few honest men. Only a few. You see? The kind of friends that Daniel mixed with were extraordinary people. These were men of faith, men of integrity, and that's why naghawaan po sila. You know, the integrity of Daniel affected this man, and this three men's integrity affected him. Okay? Look at these three men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. In chapter 3, God gave the king gave a law that every time the music starts, he built a statue of himself in the plain of Dura in Babylon and commanded all the people to bow down to his image every time the music starts. Okay? But Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who were one of the officials, members of the king's cabinet, whenever the music starts, everybody bows down to images. They're the ones standing up. That's why it's easy to spot them. Everybody's bowing down to the ground, and these three men were just standing up. They're not bowing down to the image. And so they were immediately reported to the king, and the king was so angry at them. He said, didn't I warn you that if you don't bow to my image, I'll throw you into the furnace of fire? We know, O king. Then why didn't you bow down to my image? You are my advisors. You are my wise men. You're supposed to be loyal to me. Bow down to my image. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego said, let it be known to your king that we don't have to defend ourselves on this matter. We will not bow down to your image because our God is able to deliver us from the fire. And even if our God does not deliver us, we will still not bow down to your image, O king. Even if we have to die, we will never bow down. Wow. Men of conviction will not compromise what they believe. Amen? And so later on, what happened? They were thrown. The king was angry. He commanded the furnace of fire to be heated 7 times. I mean, the 7 times, the moment you get in, you're burned. So they were thrown into the fire. And then later on, as they were waiting for them to become ashes, the king was looking into the fire. Have they turned into ashes? And they were surprised. There were 3 men walking in the midst of the fire, and there was another man with them. And he said that that man, 4th man, looked like one of the gods. And so he called them out. Come out! Come out! And they came out. And there's not even a smell of fire in their clothes. They were supernaturally protected. And when the king saw that, this is what he said. Praise be to the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who has sent his angel and rescued his servants. They trusted in him and defied the king's command and were willing to give up their lives rather than serve or worship any god except their own God. What a testimony for a pagan king. Men of integrity can change the opinions of people in time. Because they maintained the integrity, even the king later on bowed down to the God of the Jews. Because they saw their conviction, their faith, and their courage. These are the kinds of friends Daniel has. So let me ask you today, if you want to become a real man, would you like to select the kind of friends that you have? The people you mingle with. Find people who, like you, desire to develop integrity in your life. Because these are men who can counsel you over the things they've already overcome in their life. They can help you be victorious in the areas they became victorious in. You can share stories and encourage one another. Right company is important. The Word of God says in 1 Corinthians 15:33, do not be misled, bad company corrupts good character. Number 4 is faithfulness. Can we read this together? Now Daniel so distinguished himself among the administrators and the satraps by his exceptional qualities that the king planned to set him over the whole kingdom. This was King Darius now. The Babylonians were defeated by the Persians, and the first Persian king in Babylon was named Darius. So Darius took over the kingdom, and the king's advisory cabinet of the former regime were now brought into the service of the new conquering kingdom. Represented by King Darius. At this, the administrators and the satraps tried to find grounds for charges against Daniel in his conduct of government affairs, but they were unable to do so. They could find no corruption in him because he was trustworthy and neither corrupt nor negligent. Wow. Talking about a man working in the government. Working in the government, exposes you to a lot of corrupting practices. And by the way, the kingdom of Babylon was one of the most corrupt in that time, because it was the most powerful empire during that period in the Middle East. When there is much power, much corruption. The more power, the more corruption. And so they were not exempt. But the king was observing Daniel, and he discovered that Daniel was an excellent man who can really be trusted. In other words, the king observed the integrity of Daniel in all his conduct of government affairs. That's why he wanted to appoint him over the entire kingdom above the 3 highest officers, so that he will be directly reporting to the king himself. Wow. Promotion. And so the administrators and the other satraps tried to find grounds for charges against Daniel in his conduct of government affairs, but they were unable to do so. Why? They could find no corruption in him because he was trustworthy and neither corrupt nor negligent. Do you believe there are still Daniels today? Maybe young men. If later on God calls you to serve in government, would you be a Daniel for God in the Philippine government? You will never compromise. Even if it will result in your losing your work, you will stand for what is right in government affairs. Do you understand this? You see, when there is trust and confidence because of the integrity that you exhibit, promotion is not far. Because promotion is given to people who can be trusted. I always tell when I have seminars to the rank and file of companies, yung mga regular employees, I always tell them, you know, if you want to improve in your income, I'll give you a tip. Protect the trust of your superiors in you. Never break their trust. Prove yourself trustworthy. And even though you're not properly educated, even though you may not have the credentials that are needed for a higher position, because you can be trusted, you can easily be trained to occupy a higher position. I've heard the story of a janitor at the bank who later on became the manager of the bank, even without going through college degrees. Because he was so trustworthy. Any money being left, even just 100 pesos, he will say, Ma'am, may 100 pesos po dito. He cleans and then he says, you know, Ma'am, may cheque po dito, yung nawawalan yung cheque, ito yata yun. I mean, he would report even the smallest amounts of money that he discovers while cleaning the bank. He made himself trustworthy. Later on, he became promoted as a teller, trained. Later on, he became the manager of the bank. Okay? Because he was trustworthy and neither corrupt nor negligent. Faithfulness. Preserving the trust given to you by others by maintaining excellence in character, morality, and competence ability is one of the proven keys to success. All of us wants to be successful, right? But here's the principle that will make us successful. Jim Rohn, one of America's most sought after business advisors. How many of you have heard of Jim Rohn? If you're a businessman, I would invite you to go to jimrohn.org in the internet. You will find a lot of wise guidance, not only for your business, but also for your professional life. Okay? He said, you know, when he said this, I never realized that he could summarize the entire science of success in just one sentence. Many years ago, before I became a pastor, my brother and I read a lot of books on success. Napoleon Hill, Andrew Carnegie, you know, those superstars in the success literature. We read all their books. And when I heard Jim Rohn give this statement, I was so stunned. Because as I analyzed what he said, he actually just summarized the entire science of success in just one sentence. I was so amazed. Wow, just one sentence summarizes it all. You want to be successful in life? This is the one summary statement of the whole science of success. Success is not something to be pursued. It is attracted by the person that you become. Let me repeat that. He said success is not something that you pursue. You see, the problem with people, everybody's running after success. And many step on one another in the process, right? Some step on people in the process. Because all they want is to be successful. And because they want to be successful, you know, whatever it takes, even a little cheating here, a little dishonesty here, a little, you know, injustice here, you know, just be successful. The problem is that when you're able to achieve success at the expense of others, later on it boomerangs back to you. It's just a matter of time. When your credibility begins to go down because of your unfair or even, you know, immoral practices, just to be successful. What Jim Rohn is saying, if you want to be truly successful, do not make success your goal. That's the wrong goal. What's the goal? The goal is excellence. Make it your goal to be excellent in your practice of your skill and ability. Be competent. Number two, be excellent in your moral character so that you can be trusted. And if you excel in these areas, money will be coming running after you. I always tell, you know, people there in the rank and file in my seminars and companies, you know, you want to be rich? I'll give you a secret to being rich. Do not make success your goal. Whatever ability you have, keep developing them to their maximum potential. Develop a pleasing personality. Develop integrity in your life. prove to people they can trust you. And I tell you, it's just a matter of time that you will see people beginning to trust in you, and you see people will invest money in an excellent person because they know their money will not go to waste. Can the businessman here tonight agree with that? You will invest money in people you can trust because they are excellent people. Instead of getting envious of others, instead of comparing yourself with others, instead of creating intriga just to get that position, make it your goal to pursue excellence. Be the best in whatever skill you have, in whatever job you have. Be the best. And develop the right kind of character that will win the trust of people. And I'll tell you, money will run after you. I always tell people, there are only two ways that money comes to you. Either you run after money, or you make money run after you. When you're running after success, it's like running after money. Sometimes running after money will corrupt you. True or false? Let me repeat that. Running after money will corrupt you. But running after excellence will make you a better person, and soon money will be looking for you. I know that by experience. I know that by experience. Money is never a problem when you have developed excellence in your life. You understand this? Daniel was an excellent person. Without even trying to make sip with the king observed, this man is the best man in my government. Trustworthy, a man of integrity, exceptional qualities. He was planning to bring him to the very top of the entire government hierarchy because of his excellence as a person. Amen? It's not ability but integrity that makes a man. Compromise is the hallmark of every man who has failed and fallen. Every time you compromise, and then you compromise, later on it becomes a habit. One compromise will lead to another. If we are not faithful in little things, we won't be faithful in the bigger things. If you compromise in little things, that will desensitize you to the bigger things. Later on, you'll be doing the bigger compromises, and you don't feel guilty anymore about it because the little compromises have already desensitized your conscience. I have so many stories to tell about real experiences with people who became scandals in their companies because it started with little compromises, repeated again and again and again, until later on they began to take the bigger money, and then bigger money, and then bigger money. Later on, they have stolen millions from the company. It started with just a few hundred pesos. Okay? That's why when we compromise, we are preparing ourselves to fail ultimately in life. Every time we develop compromising habits. Courage. You see, in Daniel chapter 6, there were many who conspired. These people who were envious of Daniel conspired against him and told the king, "O king," because they know that Daniel is very faithful in praying to his God. And so they said, "We will never find any fault in this man except it has something to do with his religion. So let's go and tell the king, 'O King Darius, we are encouraging you to do a test of all your officials in the kingdom to see if they're really loyal to you. Issue a decree written by the Medes and Persians, which means these are laws that are irrevocable. The moment the king writes them and puts his seal on them, they cannot revoke anymore.'" So they wanted to be sure that the king will not change his mind. And so they said, "Issue a decree, O king, that nobody in the kingdom will pray to any other god except to you. And that will prove to you who are the ones loyal to you. Because they will be loyal to you more than to their gods." And the king was pleased about that. Of course, he wanted to be sure he will have the men who can really be trusted because they're loyal to him. He really fell in for the bait. He didn't know he was already signing the death sentence of Daniel. Because the king said, "Whoever prays to another god will be thrown into the lion's den." Okay? When Daniel heard that, when Daniel learned that the decree has been published, he went home to his upstairs room where the windows open towards Jerusalem. 3 times a day, he got down on his knees and prayed, giving thanks to his God just as he had done before. He heard the decree. You cannot pray to any other God except to the king. If you do, you'll be thrown to the lions den. After he heard that, he went back to his home, opened the window that looked towards Jerusalem, and started praying for all the people to see. Ang tawag po dyan, lakas ng loob. Just like the three friends, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they defied the king's order and publicly showed, I will pray to my God, no matter what the king says. You understand that? This is courage. What is courage? Courage is not the absence of fear, but the control of it through the exercise of faith and the boldness of love. You know, you overcome fear by trusting in God for the consequences. God wants you to do what is right, you will do what is right, no matter what people say. And you trust God to take care of the consequences. And thirdly, you know, even though you're a person who is now medyo mahinang loob, pero pag mahal na mahal mo isang tao, if you really love a person so much, you'll do anything. Even sometimes the most courageous things can be done out of your love for a person. You know, I've seen a mom, you know, when he saw that the child was about to be hit by a truck, child did not know. The mom ran, pulled the child, and, you know, threw her like that, and she was hit. That's a lot of courage. But because love motivated her to do that. When you love a person who's pinned under a car accidentally, you'll be surprised you'll be able to have enough strength to lift up that car just to save somebody because you really care for that person. Courage can be motivated by faith or love for God. And Daniel definitely had his own love for God and his faith in God. That's why he did not care what the king will say. Real courage in a man also is not measured by how he faces a human enemy, but how he faces the truth about himself. Sometimes the most difficult thing to face in life is the truth about your mistakes, your failures, and your blunders in life. Bilang mga lalaki, sometimes it's so hard for us to admit we're wrong, right? Just especially in front of our wives. That's why when I was in Manila, I trained the men to say, oo nga, in Tagalog, to Manila. When the wife says, you know, you're doing like that, you're right. I stand you guilty, Your Honor. That's the end of the sermon of the wife. You know, I have to learn to say to my wife, you know, you're right, I'm wrong, I'm sorry. As men, we love to find excuses. That's why we remain boys. A real man will always take responsibility for his mistakes and admit it immediately. Because he's not afraid to face the truth about himself. That's what makes him a real man. Amen? You know, it's easy to face a human enemy. You know, pag punong-puno ka ng galit, kaya mo labanan kasi sinong tao eh. Right? Pero, the most difficult thing to do is to face the fact that you made a mistake or you failed. That is where real courage in a man is found. A man will face his mistake, learn from it, and correct it. That's a man. Discipline. Now, when Daniel learned the decree has been published, he went home to his upstairs room where the windows opened towards Jerusalem. 3 times a day he got down on his knees and prayed, giving thanks to God, just as he had done before. Prayer was a habit for him, and no king's decree can change the habit. Yes, discipline helps to pray 3 times a day. That's a discipline. That's a habit, right? And if you want to learn integrity, we have to learn to discipline ourselves. Listen to this. Integrity without discipline is impossible. Let me repeat that. Integrity without discipline is impossible to develop. You need discipline to build integrity. These were the words of Jim Rohn. It is the accumulative effect of our habits that determine our ultimate success or failure as men. Every major success in life is the product of years of building the right habits. Every major failure, the result of building the wrong ones. Tell me what your habits are, and I'll tell you whether you ultimately succeed or fail in life. We need to deal with our habits now, especially the bad ones, before they deal with us later on. Understand this? You see, a major success is not a product of an overnight effort. It takes years, of building the right habits to be ultimately successful. A major failure also doesn't happen overnight. It is the product of many years of building the wrong habits in your life. Failure is not a single cataclysmic event. You don't fail overnight. Instead, failure is a few errors in judgment repeated every day, according to Jim Rohn. You must all suffer from one of two pains, the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. The difference is discipline weighs ounces while regret weighs tons. Pero yun naman masakit eh. Yung discipline mo sa sarili, mahirap eh. Pero mas mahirap pag nakagawa ka na mali tapos tatanggapin mo yung masasakit na consequence, mas masakit yun eh. So it's better to suffer the pain of discipline rather than suffer the pain of regret later on. Job 31:1. Job made a commitment to discipline his eyes. That's why he maintained his integrity for the rest of his life. I made a covenant with my eyes never to look at a girl with lust. That was the discipline he built in his life. And I tell you as men, until we learn to discipline our eyes, there's no guarantee we will not fall into adultery one day. Adultery begins in the mind, not in the actual relationship with a woman. It begins right here. When we can adulterate in our mind, later on, it will condition us to seek for the real thing. It will open the door for real adultery to take place with another woman. And finally, confidence in God. You see, God, the king had to throw Daniel into the lion's den. But that night, an angel of the Lord came and shut the lion's mouth. And the next morning, King Darius was so anxious about Daniel, he ran to the den and he had it opened. He said, Daniel, did your God save you? And then Daniel said, be at peace, O king. God, my God, sent his angel and shut the lion's mouth. That's why I'm still alive. Understand that? The king was overjoyed and gave orders to lift Daniel out of the den. And when Daniel was lifted from the den, no wound was found on him because he had trusted in his God. The reason why Daniel can maintain his integrity, because no matter what the consequences will be for doing what is right, the world will come against you. People will not like you. You may suffer some painful consequences for maintaining your integrity and doing what is right. But listen to this. The price of integrity may be high, but the rewards are greater than the price. Can we say that together? The price of integrity may be high, but the rewards are greater than the price. In the end, you will see how God will vindicate you. Maintain your integrity no matter what happens. Trust in God. It matters now how you begin so long as you finish well. For in the end, we are judged not by what we have started, but what we have finished. Wherever you are right now, in our pursuit of integrity in life, you may have made mistakes, you may have failed, you have committed a lot of major blunders in your life in this area, but let me tell you, decide to finish well. Because in the end, you are judged not by what you started, but what you finished. No man is a failure until he chooses to quit. The worst thing in life is not failing. The worst thing in life is quitting. You are never defeated until you choose to remain on the ground. We may not be perfect, but we can learn and become better men by the grace of God. A fall becomes a step forward if it brings you to your knees. They stand the strongest who kneel the longest. Let every experience of failure bring you down to your knees and bring you back to God. Because as you find your strength in God, you will emerge stronger than before. Because you came to the right person. You came back to God. I don't know where you are right now. Some of you here may be in the midst of temptations to compromise in your life. Some of you here may be falling into adultery right now as I'm speaking. You may have made steps, unwise steps that may lead you into an affair with another woman who's not your wife. But the reason that you're here tonight, I tell you, is not simply by your choice. You're coming here as a divine appointment. And God is telling you tonight, whatever you're doing now, be courageous, be bold enough to stop it before it gets worse. Because I tell you, the pain of discipline is lighter compared to the pain of regrets. Once we commit that sin, you're going to affect your children and generations to come. If ever you're struggling with temptations to adultery, please don't hesitate to seek help. That is where you need to show accountability. You need to be honest and recognize you need other men to help you out. Other men whom you know maintain and pursue integrity in their lives. They can help you. You understand this? In closing, let me just encourage you. Starting tonight, I would encourage you to be together with your group that you have been interacting before, because gradually we want to help establish accountability within your group. So you'll be meeting once a month during this dinner, and there will come a time you'll be able to share your real struggles in life with one another. So you can help advise one another, counsel one another, and really pray for each other. So accountability is very important in order to develop and maintain integrity in your life. Be accountable first to your wife. Pray. Humble yourself, because your wife can help you if you're honest enough. Trust in God, because God will bring out the best in your marriage if you're doing what is right in His eyes.